Hi folks, so today we're going to be removing this from the BMW. Come this way. We're going to be removing the satellite preparation unit. I just think it looks ugly and I'm not going to use it. And why am I not going to use it? Excuse me, hounds. Because I want to fit this Garmin Zumo XT, which I've already installed on my KTM. It's just got a very nice mounting system. It's very simple and it's unobtrusive. So the game plan is to bounce the Zumo between this and the BMW. So once we remove the BMW satellite preparation kit, what are we going to install? So let's have a look down here then, shall we? So starting from the left hand side, we've got a Garmin bar mount. So I got that from eBay. Again folks, I'll put all the items in the description down below. From Garmin then we have the Garmin mounting kit for the Zumo XT, and that's the mounting unit that the satellite clips to, and a selection of washers, bolts and nuts and things. And then the most important thing, I guess, is the wiring harness which connects into the electrical system of the BMW. So what do we need to put all the stuff on the bike? So what we need is, you need to connect it to the electrical system of the BMW. So again, in the description down below, you find the links to all this. So this is a power cable to supply power from here, and then that will go onto these two ends here, and then through the transformer it will then power the Zumo. So you definitely need one of those, otherwise you are scuppered and you can't do anything. And then to connect it all, we've got a couple of crimp connectors, and then a couple of heat shrink tubing pieces, and then some electrical tape, and then a lighter or similar just to heat this tubing down, and then a set of snips, and then a set of crimping pliers. So that's pretty much all we need to do. Without further ado, let's get to it, and fingers crossed this is a half an hour job. If it's not, I'll let you know. So what I'm firstly going to do is up here on the inside of the frame on the right hand side, you'll see where the GPS power supply is. What you can see up here is this is where all the satellite stuff, the power is mounted. So what I need to do is just with a pair of snips, undo that, and then remove all of this from basically the inside of the front of the fairing attachment bracket. So here you are folks, I feel like a bit of a brain surgeon actually. So I just need to get the snips, easier said than done, trying to do this one-handed. So get the snips and then carefully, just without cutting any cables. Right, happy with that. And snip. So that's it. So that's the, I'm going to leave that cable tie in there, because what I'm going to try and do is feed a new cable tie through the hole in the frame. What I'm going to do now is just remove all the power leads from here. So what have we got then? So we have got one plug. Is that it? Okay. So all you've got to do is, there's a little tab on the top part here folks, just there, push that in with your thumb, and then there we go. So that is it disconnected. There's just one cable, and if I pull on this a little bit, it is the right one, because you can see the cables are moving down there. So that's brilliant. So I've only got two cable ties to undo, one here and one there. But what I'm going to have to do is take this windshield off. So let's take the windshield off now. So what I like about the BMW is how well made it is, and it's very easy to take apart as well, which is so much better than my Africa Twin. So T25, and we've got two screws to remove, one here and then one on the other side, and then the windshield will just drop forward, and then away we go. So let's take that off now. So you may just have to raise or lower your windshield just to give you a nice straight on access to the T25 screws. And there's one, so 1 and 2, just give it a couple, 1 and 2. So I'm just holding the front of the windscreen here, and then it should be just a simple case of pulling it forward and then lowering it. Yeah, so there's a male section on the bottom here that slots into here, so just drop the screen down and pull it forward, And that's it, folks. It's as simple as that. So what I've done is just put the relevant screws into the relevant holes of the windshield, and then just go and put that somewhere safe and make sure you don't stand on it. But I've actually never removed the blanking plate here. So what you have to do, insert the key, turn, and then slide this bar at the back towards you, and then that just releases the mechanism up here, so you can push in and then just remove the plate, and then that gives us access to these 4 torque screws, which are keeping the unit mounted to the mounting bar. So let's get the relevant screwdriver and undo those 4 bolts. So let's get the trusty T20 Torx driver, and I've just put some microfiber cloths here in case anything falls off the back and scratches anything. I don't want to lose anything, so yeah, just undo these 4 bolts. Well, I'm certainly glad I put the microfiber towels down here, because when I've undone them, the bolts at the back here, they've just fallen off down here. So yeah, could be a little handy tip there. Just make sure you put the microfiber cloths there, because again, I'm doing this with one hand, so you might be all right with 2. Just put your other hand behind, but as I'm filming, it's a bit more awkward. And this is just the last one, and we should see everything just fall off, I guess. And there we go, that's it. So that's the satellite cradle disconnected from the mounting bar, and then I've got 1 still on the back there, 2, 3, 4, so I'm good. I haven't lost anything. Woohoo! So now I've just got to get a pair of snips, and I've only got 2 cable ties to undo. These cable ties are on very tight, so all I've done is just shuffle the 2 of them down here. So where there's the bend, it just gives a little bit more room to get the snips in without basically clipping the bracket or the frame. So it just helps protect the frame a bit more, I guess. Again, trying to do this single-handed in video, it's not the easiest of things. So there we go, and I haven't scratched the metal. And then just slide the other one down, shimmy it down, and then just get a bit more room on the bend. As I say, there's more than one way to skin the cat. Voila, no scratches. Result, yee. So the moment of truth, just pull on the cable here, and hopefully it won't snag, and we can remove the whole unit. There we go. Why is that snagging on? So that's snagging down here, folks. So rather than pull it and yank it and damage it, I'm just going to take this front section off. I've taken off before. It's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 T25s. Let's just whip that off now. All I've done, folks, is actually just taken 2 bolts out, and that gives me enough flex to then peer over the top. And you may just have to adjust the screen adjuster just to give a bit more gap down here, and there we go, it's out with no damage being done. So that's the whole installation that came with the bike, is off the bike. Yes, great job. So before we go anywhere, what we need to do is just prepare all of this to go onto the bike. So what we have the Garmin mounting kit, and then the power supply. So let's take the power supply. It's got 2 pins on it, and then it needs to be attached. Just turn it over and then push it up through the middle, and there's a little screw that's got to go in here, and you get a couple of them. So let's put that screw in. They give you 2 in the bag just in case you lose any, actually. So there they are, and they give you a little screwdriver in the kit as well. So here's the supplied screwdriver. Man, these screws are really small, so if you're wearing glasses like me, you may struggle a little bit. So that's screwed in nice and tight, so this power cable isn't going to go anywhere. And just make sure you put the spare screw back in the plastic bag if you ever need it in the future, if you do any modifications, etc. That has a little tiny screw in there, look. So seal the bag up and put it to one side. So this is the section of video that I really enjoy. This is the installation section. So just as a handy tip again, just make sure you put a blanket on your tank because you don't want to drop anything from your pockets, etc. And also on the TFT screen, I've just put a microfiber cloth. I've already lightly installed, shall we say, the eBay bracket that I've purchased to go on the bar here, and then all you need to do is just tighten it up enough that you can rotate it up and down, and just sit on the bike and then just looking at it, see where you think the center is, and you're happy with that, then just tighten it down a little bit, but still just enough that you can just about tilt it, because what we need to do is put the Garmin Zumo GPS on here and then get the right angle, and I'll explain why very shortly. So I'm happy that's in the center now, so I'm just going to do it up a little bit tighter, but just enough that I can still angle it as well. So the reason being, very straightforward folks, when we attach it onto the bracket, the eBay special bracket, we don't have access to those screws, so you have to set the angle now and then tighten these two screws up. So the next step then is to just place these collars over the screws like that. These are rubber grommets in here, so just push them home, give them a good old push, and just get a screwdriver and just push them in a bit more. That's it, and then we'll take it over to the bike. So there's the Garmin mounting bracket. We haven't put the washer or the nuts on the back, so all we're going to do is put the Garmin on here and making sure it's on there properly, switch the unit on, and then just offer the unit up to the bracket. Switch the bike on, and all we're looking at this stage is to make sure that the bottom of the Garmin is not interfering with the TFT screen and the angle is good for you to view, and I've got to say I'm more than happy with that, and it looks to be fairly central actually, so as it is now, that is a good job. So I'm really happy with that, so I'm going to screw these up nice and tight and then we'll fit everything back on the bike. It's always worthwhile just making sure any gap that you've got above and below between these two halves is the same, so it's not applying undue pressure to the bars. So we're now going to mount this onto that, and folks, make sure you put a cloth down there, because I have dropped a few of the washers and the bolts down there, so that is a little handy tip from me. So pop in the screws, sitting there nicely, and then just get the washer and the self-locking nut and put them on the back. Ah, there we go, look, dropped a washer already. So it is a bit of a fiddly thing, and you've got to do that 4 times. So yeah, put the cloth there, it saves things bouncing on the floor. Oh, flip. So this is the last washer and nut going on. All the others have just been done up finger tight, but yeah, put a cloth there folks. If you've got a small enough spanner, I haven't, so I'm using an adjustable spanner. Put it on the back and then start to secure them down nice and snugly. And that is all the 4 screws and nuts fitted securely. Job done. So this is how we're going to route the cabling. However, when I did it originally, I accidentally pressed the wrong button on the GoPro and it recorded it in time-lapse mode. So that footage was useless. However, I didn't know that until I came to edit the video. So this is the day after, when everything's installed, and I'll show you how we routed the cabling. So this is the unit on the mounting bar. So if we just come this side, you'll see the Garmin bracket, and then I've just fed the power supply under here. I've kept it nice and tight, and then you can see how I've run it nice and tidily using 3 small zip ties, and so you can't see this when you're sat on the bike. And then it comes down, just follow the finger, it doesn't snag on anything. And what I've done, as before I fed the Garmin power transformer down here, I just wound the screen all the way down, and if I put this bit of wire that I've cut off, you can follow the red bit, and we go down here and then straight through down onto the ground. So it's fairly easy to get the transformer through there, but just make sure you wind the screen all the way down to give you a bigger gap. And what I also did was put a cable tie around the back of the unit, the bracket here, and that way it just stops the power cable just from dropping down. And that means what you can do is, with the dust seal, weather seal, is either just pull it up and slot it behind the bracket there, or leave it dangling, or just with the clip that it has on it, just clip it onto the cable here, like that, and it's out of the way. So what we're going to do is, I don't know if you can see, but there's numbers on these yellow cables, 1, 2 and 3. So cable number 1 is the black or the earth ground, and number 3 is the positive. So they're the only 2 cables that we're going to use. So what I'm going to do is cut this down to length. I've already had a look on the bike to see where it's going to go. We'll show you that in a little while. So just going to cut this section down to 10 centimeters, and voila. So we are only interested in cables 1 and 3. So cable number 2 can go out of the way, and we're just going to strip these back so we can then put the connectors on. So there's 1, and number 3, this one as well. Always handy if you've got the right tools. So the only cable left which hasn't been cut is number 2. So looking at cutting approximately 10 centimeters on the Garmin end. Just pull the wires back a bit and then strip them. 1, 2, and again give them a good twist. Not forgetting your shrink tube, so pop that on before you do anything, because you can't fit it on otherwise. So 1, 2, and then what we have to do is put the crimp connectors on. I'm just going to fold the wire in 2, so it's a bit thicker, and it goes. This is always a bit fiddly. They're nice and firm. So I've just written on the sleeve here number 1 and number 3 and red, so I know where they go. Don't want to make an error at this point. So number 3 then is red. So popping it in here and then crimp it up. So that is everything connected. So I'm just going to use this lighter to just heat the shrink tube up. Doesn't take much. And that is everything nicely heat wrapped. So the heat shrink has cooled. We're more or less there now. So just going to take the plug, go up to the inside here, connect it into the plug and make sure everything works. Right, there's the Garmin unit. It's on its own inbuilt battery power at the moment. Pop it on the cradle on the bike. Again, it's still on its internal battery power, and press the go button, and what happens up here, it's gone to external power, so it's being charged, so everything is good. So nearly there folks. So just put some electrical tape around the connectors here, and then the excess cable, that's about 3.5, 4 inches, just double it up and then put a zip tie on it going into the transformer. And then what we're going to do is just stick it up here in a recess in the frame. So this is how it all goes back folks. So this is a nice recess in the bodywork, not interfering with anything there. So the plug goes back in first, push it towards the back, and then feed in all the other bits. There's the junction that the connectors that we put on, feeding those in, and then what goes in next is the wiring loop, the wire that we've zip tied, that goes in there. So all stuff's in quite nicely, and push it around a bit, and then finally we just pop in the transformer unit, and that should sit in there really nicely. It certainly ain't coming out, that's for a fact. Again, you've got to push and pull and whatever, but really it's the only way to do it. So I think that is pretty much it in there. Right, just get that out. So there's a bit more slack to put in there. That's in. And that is all in, and you can see the cable running up to the power cradle up there. So what I'm going to do is just try and put a zip tie just under here and run it over the transformer if I can. So I've put a zip tie on the transformer unit around here, if you can see, and everything does go in here nicely, and there's no snagging as well. So yeah, that little recess here is fine. The only thing I forgot to do is to remove the zip tie that I left in there originally, that I did say at the beginning of the video that I'd remove, but I'll get that another day when I take the right hand side panel off to give it a good old deep clean, etc. So yeah, more than happy with that. There's no way it's going to come out of there. Everything's stuffed in there quite nicely, out of the way, and yeah, everything's good. I would say about an hour you should be all right, maybe an hour and a half. Just take your time. Big points there, just put stuff on the tank when you're working in the tank area, and also on your TFT, just to make sure you're not going to drop anything on there. Everything's back on now, all this is back, the windshield's back, and there's nothing snagging when we put the windshield up and down. So the cable that's run down here is all fine, so that's not going to cause any issues. It looks very factory finished, as they say, and just keep an eye on stuff as you go out for several rides, just to make sure everything is as it should be. Just give it a bit of a check over, as you should always do once you've worked on your bike. So there's the Garmin unit, and it looks really good, very nice, very happy with that. I'm sure you'd agree, folks, that that looks a damn sight better than that, but as we said before, each to their own. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it's been of some assistance to you if you're looking at fitting a Zumo to your bike and you don't want to use one of those adapter cradles. Basically, I didn't want to put my phone on the bike. Basically, if you're out somewhere, some little oik nicks the phone off any mounting unit you've got in the front, you're really scuppered, because we all live on our phones, don't we? Tap and pay and all that kind of stuff. So I'd rather lose my Garmin Zumo XT at a set of traffic lights rather than my mobile phone. So each their own. You do what you need to do, but if you're looking at doing what I've done, it's a worthwhile job to do. So as always, ride safe, and we'll see you again in the next bits and pieces video. Take care for now. See you again later. Bye.